This is a loose paraphrase, but Pope Francis, he once kind of said, "I'd prefer to have a church which is bruised and dirty and bloody, as opposed to a church which is sick because basically it lives just for itself." The church is meant to be inherently missionary. We're called to go forth into the messiness. So you remember the Oscars like years ago, there was a really infamous episode where Will Smith, he went up on stage and he smacked Chris Rock, this comedian who was hosting. And what happened just before was that Chris Rock was telling a joke at the expense of Will Smith's wife. And so Will Smith was offended on behalf of his wife, came up and hit Chris Rock. And obviously a huge uproar around that. Over the course of discussion about that particular incident, someone said, if you read Will Smith's biography, he talks about his mother. He says, "I can remember a moment when I was 9 years old, and my father would always beat my mother. And one time he hit my mother so hard that she collapsed and blood was coming out of her mouth." And he goes, when I think about everything I've done since, trying to be successful, trying to be the guy, be the man, all of it is meant to be an apology to my mother for being a coward and not being strong enough to defend her against my father. And he writes this when he's in his 50s. Now, someone might say, well, yeah, but he still shouldn't hit Chris Rock. Noted. But can we at least have a conversation about the 9-year-old kid who can't forgive himself for something which was never his fault? And that's what Pope Francis is trying to encourage, to have these difficult conversations. It's easy to say, well, look, here's this guy who's acting out in some way. This person should not be angry. This person should not act out in this particular way. It's easy to have that conversation and simply call people out and stop. It's much harder and requires greater generosity and love to journey with people. Tell me what you need, tell me what you want, tell me how you're hurting, how can I help you? Go through that whole process until they feel seen and known and loved, and journey with them until they are fully healed and therefore fully alive.